afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our entrepreneur panel. I'm Mahima Kulur, Special Project Coordinator working in the Department of Business and Tourism. And for the panel, we have Hannah Edgar, Serena Haines, Christine Murphy, and Nicole Langille. Let me start the questions. I will let each of you briefly introduce yourself and describe your current position and the organization you work with. Hannah, do you want to start?
See if I got this microphone right. There we are. Hi, everyone. My name's Hannah Edgar. I am the co-owner of Maverick's Donuts out on Hammonds Plains Road. Hopefully seeing some nods. Hopefully some of you recognize the name. I guess it's kind of self-explanatory what I do there, but I make donuts. We're about a year in, so I'm still pretty new to kind of this entrepreneurship journey, but that's me.
My name is Christine Murphy, and I am the, co-owner of the Tuna Blue Inn restaurant and Marina, which is in Hubbards. It's about a 35-minute drive from Halifax. It is a seasonal tourism business. We have a very busy restaurant. We have rooms, cottages, and then we have a marina for boats to come in. I'm an owner, but I'm also an on-hands operator as well. And anyway, and I did graduate from the tourism program here at the Mount many years ago.
Hi, I'm Serena Haines. I'm a certified sexologist and a sex and intimacy coach. I'm the owner of my business, and I've been doing this now for about 10 years. So I'm close to what one would call a therapist, but instead of doing the deconstruction of therapy, we take who you are, what you've learned, we move you forward into who you want to be. So I work with people, individuals, couples, as well, just to kind of open up your language, open up the way that you feel about your own relationships. They don't always have to be sexual in nature, but our relationships are really important, whether that's a business relationship or a personal relationship. So that's what I do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Langille, and I have a company that is called Free People. It's a destination management company, which means that when corporations like a Remax or a Deloitte come to Nova Scotia or Atlantic Canada, Free People is considered the expert on the ground. So we do everything from transportation, meetings, excursions, like take people to Peggy's Cove or on helicopter tours. We do decor, entertainment, food and beverage. So we coordinate all of those things on the ground. So when a company comes to Halifax, or after they decide to come to Halifax or Nova Scotia or Atlantic Canada, they've chosen their destination, we would be the next phone call that they would make, because we help them do everything, help them plan everything, and then help execute everything when they're here. And my company is about 13 years old now. And I am also a grad of the Tourism and Hospitality program, like Christine. And I'm excited to be here to talk to you all.
This is a two-part question. Did you always plan on becoming an entrepreneur? What profession, industry did you see yourself in when you graduated high school or post-secondary? Serena, do you want to lead us?
Sure. So I flip-flopped a little bit, I'm not going to lie. My family owns a company, they always have, so I've always been in the entrepreneurial world, and watching the dedication and the hard work and the hustle that had to happen in that, I'm not going to lie, I grew up thinking, I'm just getting a job. I'm just going to work for somebody else because this is crazy, watching all that go down. But I think that it was in my blood. So prior to becoming a sex and intimacy coach, funny enough, I was paramedic. So I did work with the healthcare system here for a very long time, and transitioned out of that into stay-at-home motherhood, which is another full-time position. I used to say I was CEO of CPA Inc., which is the initials of my children, and ran that for 16 years. But when I graduated high school, I did not see my career path going the way that it did. Okay, so I'm probably the one on the panel here today who can give you a whole lot of insight of please just follow your dreams and do the thing that you want to do, and everything that you learn will come together at some point, but it will probably be in the least expected place because I didn't see myself taking this turn at 40 years old. Jump in.
Okay, great. So when I was in high school and I was thinking about what I was going to do for university, I really had no idea where I was going to end up until I heard about tourism and hospitality at Mount St. Vincent, believe it or not. And when I went through the program, I took tourism development, which is really like sort of governmental. So it's like you go and you develop destinations, you develop products. So that was my major when I was in school. And when I graduated, I happened to have some experience in resorts and food and beverage and public relations. So I got hired to work in restaurants and nightclubs around the world. So for the first 10 years of my career, I actually managed restaurants and nightclubs in America, Canada, and in Asia. So after about 10 years, I thought, I loved it, very fast paced. But I was getting a little bit older and decided I wanted a career change. So I actually moved into marketing for quite a while. And it was while I was in marketing that I got exposure to the destination management world and what it was like to produce big events. And so once I had that exposure, I knew that that's where my interest lied. And I actually, I registered the company name Free People a few years before I actually started doing business. So I did have, an inkling of that's where I wanted to go. But it took me a couple of years to, I guess, get up the courage to actually leap into entrepreneurship. But I would say that my role model would have been my mom because she owned her own business. So when I was growing up, I saw her juggling being a mom, and at one time she owned a hair salon and was a real estate agent. So she was obviously very ambitious, and she was the example for me of what was possible.
I actually found listening to Serena a little funny because I grew up in a family, a very entrepreneurial family. My dad and my mom both, they never stopped. It was just always, they were starting businesses, and our lives were very tumultuous at times. Like, we sometimes had no money, and my dad would be like, on to this next idea, and it was just kind of the way things went. And it did work out in the end, but I didn't know any different. I thought that's what you did. I never thought, okay, this is my life. But I always worked with my family. So I had siblings. We all worked together in our businesses, and I guess I just never knew any different. And I did try to work for someone one time, and it didn't go over very well. uh, I just like doing my own thing.
I guess I can probably speak from the other side of that. Nobody in my family is in business. And so it never really occurred to me to really be an avenue. Both my parents were first generation university graduates. And so for them, it was very much that's the path that is certain, that if you get an education, you'll get a job, and that's that. So that's kind of the path that I was following, but I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. So I think out of high school, I had applied thinking I was going into graphic design. Then I did a year of theater performance. Then I did a couple years of improv school. I fell into some marketing roles. So it's funny you were saying, Serena, you never know when all of those pieces are going to come together, but when they do and it kind of clicks and you're thinking, I'm using that from that part of my life. And now I have some marketing skills that I'm applying. So when this opportunity came to open this business, I'm now getting to use a little bit of kind of everything that I collected along the way. But it's definitely interesting because I didn't see that growing up in my family. So it was such a foreign concept to me that I wasn't sure how to get there. But just stumbled into it along the way. And now I get to use all of the pieces that I collected. So.
What was your motivation for starting your business, and why did you choose to start the business that you did? Nicole, let's start with you then.
Okay. Well, my motivation was kind of the same as what Christine said. Like, I didn't want to work for anybody else anymore. I didn't want to have clients that weren't kind, or appreciative of the hard work that we were putting into projects. And I didn't feel like you could be one person inside of work and another person outside of work. Like, I didn't believe that corporate, you had one corporate personality and then you had a different personality when you're outside of work. So the company name Free People came because I wanted to work with other free-flowing minds. I wanted to free people from the things they didn't know how to do, didn't want to do, didn't have the inclination to do. And so that's why the company was named, because I didn't want to be in the corporate world anymore, working for people who were like basically, their sole motivation was to make money. Because for me, I really wanted to create spaces where people felt comfortable. So when people, come to where we call home, I want to create spaces where people feel comfortable and they can have fun and they can forget about all those other things. So that's the most important thing for me, to promote where we're from and to have fun doing it. And I don't have to make a ton of money doing it. I just have to make enough money to support my family and to be able to pay, the people who work with me, and make the company really special. That's the motivation at the end of the day. So a little bit different than, I guess, the almighty dollar. That wasn't as important to me. So that's kind of why I decided to take that big step.
I'll go next. Yeah, I really do agree with you on the point of just helping people feel good. So, my story is a little bit different. I don't have a corporation. That's not it. It's a me. It's just Serena. It's just me, and I'm a counselor, right? So I don't have a big company around me. I don't have a big team around me. I do my social media. I do my event planning. I do all of those things. But the bottom line is that I saw a gap in people's mental health and wellness. So we talk a lot, as a paramedic, I saw this a lot. We did a lot of mental health checks. We did a lot of physical health checks, obviously, and things going on in the healthcare system and just how that was working. And what I was recognizing was, and funny enough, not on the ambulance, I suppose, but I recognized that there was a gap between all the mental health and wellness that we had and our personal relationships. So, we have a physical coach. You go to the gym, you have a coach, you have a nutritional coach. You guys probably have business coaches. We hear about social media coaches and all of these things. But then people were coming into the biggest, most profound changes in their lives, which would be their personal relationships, their romantic relationships, their relationship with themselves and their bodies. And there's nobody there to help you just find that language and help you find that safe place within yourself. So when I started my business, it was after being home with my children for 16 years and hearing the couples around me and hearing other people in my life. I've got a lot of people in my life with PTSD from working first response, and recognizing that their relationships, their personal relationships and the ones that they had with themselves were disintegrating because all of the focus was being put on the external rather than on the internal. And then if we really kind of boil it down, that I always say sexual, and people, they do focus on that one word, and I understand why socially and culturally, but it really is just the energy that you have for yourself and the love and nourishment that you give yourself. And so I wanted to be that conduit. I wanted to be a conduit for people to learn how to do that for themselves. So I stepped into this role, and trust me, it's not an easy one. when the world and society wants you to just be quiet about it. So we'll talk about that in a little while with perseverance.
Okay, so I'll go next, and I actually get that question a lot: is why did you start? Why did you open the Tuna Blue? Why did you do that? Because the reason people ask me that question is that I grew up in a family business on the Halifax waterfront. We owned, you know, the tour boats, the harbor hoppers, the Murphys. It was Murphys on the Water. It was a while ago, but anyway, we built this business together. My mom, my dad, my two brothers, and myself. And we all worked together every day. And then someone came along and bought the business. And it wasn't that we were for sale, but they bought the business. So it was a great opportunity. So we took it. And then I took a couple years off. And then I realized how much I missed tourism. I I just felt I just needed that. I just needed to, you know, be back in the dealing with, you know, people visiting Nova Scotia. I was proud of where we live. I wanted to talk to people, show people, and I also missed my family. I missed being around them all the time. And so when we opened the Tuna Blue, first thing I did is I got my sons working there, my nieces, like I wanted to try to recreate that whole thing all over, and I think we did.
Yeah, so I guess my motivation started, again, I was working corporate jobs, which I do think have some value to them. I'm not saying like avoid working for the corporations, because I think you do learn a lot of valuable lessons there. And so I was working, and I was successful at what I was doing. I was in project management. I was enjoying what I was doing, but I guess I was kind of at a stage in my life where I was thinking, okay, I'm comfortable, so what's next? And I always start getting uneasy when I get comfortable in a role, because it's like you stop learning things. You know, like, where's the growth from there? Am I just going to do this job for the next 30, 40 years and then retire? So for me, it was that I was kind of in a comfortable place, that I felt like I could take a risk and try something different, knowing that I could always go back to that job, knowing that corporate life is always going to be there. There's probably always going to be some sort of a role that I could pick up. So that's kind of where I was at. I just thought, what would that look like if I was working for myself? Now's the time to do it, because no one's dependent on me. I can take that risk. And now I'm not going back.
Okay, so when you first started, how did you approach financing your business, and what advice would you give students about financing or funding options? Christine, do you want to go?
That's always a difficult one, because I think that, you know, people who have an idea for a business, they just want to get the business going. They don't think about, oh, how am I going to pay for this? And so it was never been my strong point. So I think I've always leaned on other people to help me with that kind of thing. Um, and then, you know, you learn from them. But you know, you can't be good at everything too. So, you know, but for financing, you know, if you don't know how to get the financing yourself, then you lean on someone that can help you.
I'll just jump on that as well, because that's definitely not my strong suit either. And one learning that I've had from this whole journey has just been, the best thing you can probably do for yourself is surround yourself with people who know more about something that is foreign to you. No one's expecting you to know everything about everything. So if you do have an idea to start a business, but you only feel comfortable in this area, or you think you know 60%, but you don't want to take the leap because you don't know that other 40%, just talk to other people, because everybody I've talked to, there's not been one person that said, nah, I don't want to share my knowledge with you. Like, everybody wants to help or share a piece of advice. So for me, the financial part definitely was talking to other people, but talking to more than one source, not just stopping at the first one that kind of gave me advice. I was like, yeah, we could, you could fund it this way, and taking that as the final answer was definitely talking to as many people as I could before kind of making a final decision. And then I felt more informed about making that decision because I had talked to so many people about it. But for us personally, we went with like a small business loan, and they're pretty common here, and there's lots of resources online about them. So that's how we approached it.
I don't have much to say on this one. I'm going to pass this off to Nicole pretty quickly, but only because, like I said, I'm the one-woman show. I started my business online. There was no overhead. There was nothing I really had to do. And from there, we just kind of grew, and what came in ended up coming out. So like I worked in order to do. And that's what it is when it comes to the kind of business that I own. I don't have anything big with expenses and things like that. So I'm just going to hand this one off.
I mean, all excellent points. So I would basically just kind of sum up what everybody said is that, and it does depend on what kind of business you're in. So if you don't have the knowledge or the background in finance, just reach out to people and make sure that you surround yourselves by people who want to help you. And we, luckily in Atlantic Canada, that is our community. People do want to help one another. So maybe find a mentor, or, definitely like through LinkedIn, start to watch people, what they do, and ask if they'll help if you don't have anybody in your immediate circle. And also, I guess I would lean on your university, right, to help you with some of that stuff as well. But when I started out, I was, I guess what we call a solopreneur as well. So I wasn't a corporation. So I basically financed my company through my savings. Risky, definitely. But what I knew is that I knew the job, and I knew I would be successful. I knew it would take some time. So it was just a risk that I took without having to look to outside sources for financing. And it worked out, thank goodness. But I think too, and then I didn't have to worry about doing a business plan or any of those things that come along with looking for outside financing. But there was one time when I did get some help financially, and that was during COVID. There were some loans that were available, and it was basically through Facebook. I joined this group of basically, small business owners in Halifax and entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurs. And there was a lot of information sharing in that group, which was very helpful and supportive. And that's how I found out about a lot of options that were available to me at the time. And so I did take advantage of one of those options. And it certainly was helpful during those times.
What are the advantages or disadvantages, as you see them, to being an entrepreneur? Serena, let's start with you.
Well, there's so many advantages. I mean, so many. At this point in my career, I make my own hours. I do what I need to do. I was just telling the ladies before, I take Monday and Friday off. I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like there's so many beautiful advantages. Other advantages being, being on panels like this, meeting other business owners, allowing yourself the opportunities to learn from a whole bunch of different people, and kind of like Hannah was saying earlier, being able to pull from everything that you know and everything that you learn, and knowing that you're not fixed in this one place. Like if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, a mindset, you know that if you're too big for the room, it's time to find another room, right? So like you can kind of move forward in that. So I think that's fantastic. The disadvantages personally for me is that this team that everyone's talking about, I have a really hard time letting go of control. I have a really hard time letting people do the work for me. So then I find sometimes that the work that I want just gets fragmented. So this is, no matter how long you've been in business, unless you have that mindset of being able to really kind of let go and let other people and trust, it's always going to be a little bit of a hustle for you. But that hustle, I think, is where your passion is. And that's what makes your business grow and be what you want it to be as well, right? So I would say, the main disadvantage for me personally is that this team that I know that everyone in my life tells me that I need to start cultivating is just not there yet. And I'm getting a little bit spread thin because business is going so well, which is fantastic. So I think probably everybody can agree that get yourself a team and you'll find the way through a little bit easier.
Yeah, I would echo some of that. Particularly when you start out, you do have to do everything. I will tell you right now, when I was going to the school and I had to take accounting, it was not my favorite course. I use accounting every single day in my work. It is one of the most valuable courses I have ever taken because it's so practical, and now it makes complete sense to me. And of course, marketing. So when you're starting out, you're your own bookkeeper, you're your own marketer, you're doing your social media, you're doing all of your hiring, you're writing your standard operating practices. Like, you have to do everything, and it is very hard to let go of those things, especially if you're like a crazy detail oriented person. So that's the work that you have to do yourself, right? So it's fun, and when you're passionate about it, it's great because it takes time to build a brand that resonates with people and is considered to be a quality brand. And a lot of times when you're starting out, you are the brand. So I think that's a really important point to make, is that everything you do and say will reflect on your business. So hopefully you love what you get into. So I guess that could be considered a downside. I didn't consider it that, but you're very busy all the time because you're juggling all those balls. But once you learn to let go a little bit, I tell you, it is life-changing. Because the thing that I love creating a vision and having people follow along. I love getting my team and my clients excited about an idea and then seeing it come to life. I love calling the shots. I love being my own boss. I loved saying to my team, everybody take tomorrow off. Everybody take next week off. Here's a gift. You knocked it out of the ballpark. Like, I love being the person who gets to do and say whatever I want. I love being able to take on the clients, that are going to be fun to work with. Yeah, there's so many good things about it. And you don't have to wait for anyone to tell you it's okay to do those things. You get to decide. So it's hugely rewarding.
I'll just jump in because I think I'm at a much earlier phase of my business. And so really looking forward to some of those advantages down the road. So I would say I'm kind of at that point now that you guys are talking about setting those boundaries for yourself, because you are, like, the possibilities are limitless. So it's really hard to tell yourself, like, it's okay to stop. You need to put boundaries in place, because before, maybe it was like a 9 to 5 and someone else was setting boundaries for you, and you might have pushed those boundaries a little bit, but at the end of the day, you were getting paid for doing a certain amount of work, and you did it, and then you were done. So I think for myself, what I found is, yes, you do get to make your own hours, your own schedule. But if you are somebody that has a hard time letting go and wanting to do a little bit of everything all the time, that schedule is just all the time, so you're waking up and you're thinking about your business, and you're going to bed and you're thinking about your business. So I think I'm just on the cusp of learning to kind of let go of some of those things and tell myself it's okay to have it to rest and to stop. Otherwise, you're going to burn out, and your business is going to suffer for it. So, but advantages, definitely, your own schedule, being your own boss, is great. And yeah, you just have to let yourself, I guess, enjoy that part and remind yourself that you are your boss, your own boss, so you're allowed to stop at some point.
Yeah, it's funny. I do have a hard time letting go. Even though, we do have quite a few employees, I feel that I'm kind of watching all the time, and it is a bit of a problem for me. And I find myself talking to myself, like, you're like, what are you doing? Like, let that person, wash the dishes. They know how to do it. But so I recognize it, and so I do kind of work on that a little bit, and I do think about the business all the time. I can't help it. It's just it's in me. But I think as an advantage, when someone comes up to you, like they've been in your restaurant and they pull you aside to say how much they enjoyed it, what a great place it is, and what a nice vibe, and they had the best time. It just kind of makes it all worth it, and you kind of feel like you've really done something good, and it makes you feel really good.
I know failure is often part of entrepreneurial journey. Can you share a setback you experienced and what you learned from it? Hannah, let's start with you.
Where to start? So
Yeah.
many. um, yeah, I guess maybe to start with just failure in general. I feel like it was something that I feared from the beginning of just not wanting to fail. So maybe being a little bit too safe in some of my choices. So I would actually advise you to fail if you can, is try, fail, and learn from those failures. Otherwise, I guess you don't learn, you don't grow. So I think from the get-go, I was maybe putting too many boundaries on myself, of like somebody said, asking permission, or not having to ask permission. I think I was kind of holding back and not taking risks within the business. And then when I realized, like, no, this is yours, like, you can try things out, and if they fail, that's fine, as long as there's a lesson learned from it and you adapt and change. And so I'm actually kind of enjoying that side of things now, of like giving myself the grace to fail, to learn from it. So I guess maybe one of the things we already maybe touched on a little bit, but is that micromanagement piece of just wanting to do a little bit of everything myself, because it's my vision and I know how I'd want to do it. But now that I've been able to kind of take a step back and bring in team members and have them contribute, I'm starting to recognize that other people have really good ideas, and sometimes they're better than my own.
Yeah.
And so that's really rewarding, is to see that other people can not only contribute to your own vision, but also bring in something that you hadn't even thought about, and just make your business stronger overall. So I would say that's probably one thing that wasn't doing very well at the beginning, but I'd like to think I'm working on.
I would say that you don't grow through having an easy time of things as much as you grow when you live through a challenge in your life. So it's when you come up against obstacles and you come out the other side that the big learnings happen. So not as much of a failure, but during COVID, I was a single mom. I had 2 teenagers, and traveling wasn't happening. People meeting in person wasn't happening. And slowly, week by week, month by month, I watched my business just go away. And it was very, very scary. And so from, March until May, I waited, I wallowed. And then finally, I just had to pick myself up and say, how am I going to get through this? Like, I love my life. I don't want to excel in delivering online meetings to people. That's not what I do. I create experiences for people to get together in person and revel in that. So I had to dig deep. I had to dig really deep. And I launched a sub-brand called Bubble Events by Free People. And I was literally doing events for 8 people, 10 people. But I have to say, it kept me relevant. It kept me top of mind. It kept me thinking and being creative. It kept me out in the world. It is the absolute best marketing exercise I've ever done for the company. And when we came out of COVID, people remembered that. And my company, it was like a phoenix rising. It just was crazy how successful we became after that. So it was all because I was forced to really think differently and figure things out, right? So not a failure of my own fault, but certainly the biggest challenge of my career. And it ended up being one of the best things that ever happened to me, funnily enough. Yeah.
I was just going to say that, there's always lots of failures in life, when you have a business, but you have to try. And if you don't try, you're never going to know. And also sometimes like you see an opportunity and you say, gee, I should really do that. And then if you hesitate and someone else does it, and then you're like, damn, I should have done that. So you kind of have to try. And if you fail, it's okay.
Yeah, and that kind of goes to one of the points that I'm going to talk about, but it's like you have to create it and then perfect it. Everything that we see, social media, online, especially these days, my God, I'm not jealous of the amount of media that we're being fed, especially coming up in the world. Like, I don't know about you, Hannah. The three of us did not. I'm not gonna guess ages, but we did not have social media feeding us everybody's successes day in and day out, hour by hour by hour. We saw the people who were closest to us or the people who were really working hard, and we saw the behind the scenes of all of that. But you have to create it and then perfect it. Right. So now on a different topic altogether, the setback for me personally is, again, it's the perseverance. I work in a very taboo industry. I work with people and around people. I talk publicly about things that not everybody is comfortable with and that there's a lot of judgment around. And if I listened to every person who judged what I did and what they think that I do, I would have just cowered in my bedroom. But it's standing up for what you really believe in. So if you have an idea, if, like, Christine was just saying, if you have that idea, do it, create it, and then perfect it. Don't let anybody tell you that your idea is not the way it's supposed to be. Oh, this is the way that goes. You should do it that way. No, you do it the way that it feels really authentic to you. And when you show up authentically, no matter what you're doing in your business, and nobody can shake your truth, then you have no choice but succeed, whether that success is $1 million income monthly or whether it's you just feel really satisfied going home at the end of the day because an 80-year-old couple who was having relationship issues came into you, and by the end of the day, they couldn't wait to go have their tea and cake together. That's what gives me joy in my business. And that's one of the things people don't realize that I do for a living. So speak your truth. Don't be afraid to do things that other people tell you that maybe are not going to be grasped onto, because you will find your people. If you build it, they will come. Like, if you build what you love, people will come for you.
Okay, last question. What advice do you have for university students who may be thinking about starting their own business? Christine, do you want to start by sharing your thoughts?
Sure. Advice. Let's see. I guess that, really you want to, if you want to start something, you want to do what and what you're comfortable doing. And, if you're good at something, that's probably where you want to start, to see how you can turn that into a business. That would be my advice.
I'll just go really quick on this one, but stay in school. That's my advice. I'm not gonna lie to you. I did everything backwards. Okay, I did it all backwards. I told you I came from, I did psychology in university. There was no business to that. I became a paramedic, and then I was a stay-at-home mom. And then the audacity to stand up and say, I want to start a business. I don't know how to do that. So I had to learn backwards. So I'm looking at all your faces going, damn, you're all doing it right. Yeah. You're gonna know where to go. You're gonna have Miriam like helping you out and doing these career panels and doing all these things. I know that maybe sometimes on a Monday morning when you feel like you really don't want to go into that accounting class, that it might feel like it's not worth it. But let me tell you that every ounce of education that you're getting here for a business, as an entrepreneur that doesn't have it and has to learn on the fly every day, you are ahead of the game already. There are people out there starting businesses that have never, some have not graduated high school, and they're going to succeed. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but the point is they're going to have to learn on the fly, and you have yourself in a space right now where if you can really just focus on what you're doing, you're going to get so much out of this. And then you get to choose whatever you want to do in the end.
I would say gather as many experiences as possible. So, gosh, I made beds. I worked in PR. I washed dishes. I've served the food. I've greeted people at the airport. I've wrapped gifts. I've just, everything. My business now is a culmination of every single job and experience that I have had throughout my life. And a lot of that in the earlier days was because I worked for other companies and great brands. So I tried to learn from the best. So one of the things I would say, like if you're in a co-op program, which is that is a gift. It is a gift because you get to finish school with experiences, with already having experiences under your belt. And I would say, look for the brands that you admire, and try to go to the best brands possible to learn from them, because that will stick with you for the rest of your life. And then, when I was thinking about what kind of business I wanted to own, I literally said, I love marketing. I love delivering events. So I'm just going to package all this up together, and whatever comes out the other end, it's free people. So yeah, just get as many experiences as you can, because that's going to inform actually what you want to do, what you're passionate about, and that will help you make a decision about where you want to be and what kind of a business you want to have, if that's the path that you take.
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because I think I'm just going to echo basically everything that has been said here. You're definitely in the right place. There's still classes that I took at the Mount that I think about when I'm working at the store. One of them is like consumer behavior. That was a class that I took that I loved. And I find it really interesting that I get to go into a place every day where I can like adjust things and see how people react. And I'm like, interesting. I think I learned about that in class. Maybe I'll try something different. Now it's out in the open. Everyone knows that my donut shop's just a big experiment. But I would say, make those connections, have the experiences. You don't have to start big. You can start small with just about anything. So if you're, I'll take a donut shop, for example. If you're into baking, you don't have to open a brick and mortar bakery tomorrow. You could start something small. You could start making birthday cakes for friends, or, you could do a market. You could get out there and do something small and then turn it into something big. There's a lot of businesses in Halifax that you think like, wow, how did they get here? How do they have a storefront on the waterfront? When in reality, they started as a market stall somewhere 5-6 years ago, and you just didn't know about them, and now they're out there and you think, wow, like they just overnight became this business. But really, they started a lot smaller. So I would say if you want to dip your toe into it, start small and grow, and be a sponge, absorb everything now, because you will use it later.
Okay, now it's time for the students to ask questions. Those who are in class, you can raise your hands and Miriam will give out the mic. And those who are online, just type in your question in the chat and I'll read it to the panel.
Thank you. So I just wanted to know what skills, like for example, for people who went to Mount St. Vincent, what skills did you learn that you think might be useful or you're using in your business?
Well, I often think about my accounting course here too, because I do have to, like, that is, it's just something I have to use every day, and I'm not very comfortable with it. So I do think about, I actually can picture my professor. I don't remember his name, but I can picture him up and explaining things and how, and anyway, so I do use that.
Yeah, I would also say marketing, like, the fundamentals of marketing are never going to change, right? And so when you're starting a business, you have to know that stuff, because how else are you going to get the word out? So yeah, those two things together, marketing and accounting, would have been the two most valuable. And then again, the co-op experiences, like it's irreplaceable.
Uh, oh, sorry, I was just going to add one more thing. But as someone who took a program that didn't have the co-op option, you guys are so lucky if you do have the chance to do co-op. I just created my own co-ops and tried to take as many small jobs as I could. And that's actually what landed me my first marketing role. Was somebody actually cold called, or reached out on LinkedIn and said, "We think you have the skills to land this marketing role." And I thought it was a scam, but it was because I took a position as a student recruitment officer here at the Mount as kind of a co-op position. And that really led me from one marketing role to the next. So yeah, definitely take advantage of the co-ops that you can, and if I could do it again, and take a co-op, I would go for the ones that maybe were outside of my comfort zone, and learn new things that I wasn't learning in the classroom.
Thank you. So my question is, when you start your business, will you like you have your team already? Like you okay, like oh, okay, I have my friends here. She gonna do accounting. Other ones we do like marketing and all like operation. Everyone, and then you start your business, or you will start your business first, and then you started to hiring.
Well, I still don't have a team. So, look, these guys are going to talk about this more in a bigger way, but I cannot stress enough, after coming from a company that started with one phone in my family, one phone in a laundry room, and an ashtray full of cigarettes. And my dad was just constantly, and trying with a fax machine, start it and build your team as that comes along. That was my experience growing up.
I would say that, you have to start yourself first, and then get to the point where you can have a team, because you have to, realistically, you need to make some money to pay your team. So you need to get your business started first, I would say.
So the first person that I hired or brought on 6 months before I started, and mind you, I jumped into something that was scaled up already a little bit, was a bookkeeper, because
Yeah.
I'm so uncomfortable with the financial side of that was the advice that was given to me. It wasn't something I was like, oh, I need a bookkeeper. I went and talked to people, and they said the one thing that you can do for yourself is hire a bookkeeper if you're jumping into this kind of business, where you're going to be operational. Like my hands are like in flour hours out of the day. Like I don't have the time to sit down and do that. So, and I would actually say I wish I would have learned the lesson of starting smaller and then scaling, because that was actually something that I wish I would have done differently. As I started out with a larger team, and I really didn't have a clear vision of what it was going to look like. And so then I really had to kind of juggle a larger team that I probably needed at the time, and fit them into roles rather than starting with a smaller team and then growing. So
Okay, there's a question from a student online. As you all have gone through different experiences, what skills would you be looking for if you were hiring right now?
Personality and fit with the team, and just we call it GSD, which is get stuff done. We don't use the word stuff though; we use a swear word for that. But you really, if you want to work with an entrepreneur, and particularly in the industry that I'm in, you kind of have to have that brain as well, because we don't have everything figured out. Not everything is written down for you. So I want to be surrounded by people who have the personality and the gumption that just want to solve the problems and get stuff done and do it in a very friendly way. So that's way more important to me than somebody who has particular experience in the industry, because, it just, I want to be surrounded by really good people and people that I want to be around. So the personality and the get-go attitude is more important than any skill.
I agree with that totally. Like I find that people come to us for work, and if they have the right personality, I don't care if they have no experience. I feel that if they can talk their way through things, they'll learn. I also say I like self-starters. I don't want someone that doesn't know, like is coming to me all the time. What should I do next? What should I do next? I want to see someone that's like just getting it done, and know how to, yeah, and they know how to do it. I love that.
I don't have too much else to add, but I would say echo the same. And somebody that wants to get up at 3:30 a.m. is something I'm looking for at the moment. But yeah, the self-starter is something that I didn't realize that I needed until I had a team around me and realized just how valuable that is. Not to have someone that's actually adding to your mental load of just question, but actually you just turn around and you're like, that's been organized. Somebody did that and they thought there was a better way to do that and they did it, and it's just made my life easier. So somebody that's looking to contribute rather than like be led, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you for the information so far. I have 2 pages full of notes, so I really appreciate it. The question that I had related to one that was mentioned earlier, kind of around team building. Hannah, I know you mentioned it. You found a bookkeeper, but the question was, how did you go about that process? Like, what were your first steps in terms of finding the people that you needed within your team?
Well, I'm going to answer that because it's fresh for me right now. And I hear a lot, it's so hard to find good people. I do not have that experience. I don't have that experience. And I think if you build a brand that people respect and they understand, that you will attract the right people. And so I've never had a problem finding people to work with, free people like event managers and such, because I guess over time we've developed the brand so that people really understand what we do and the kind of work that we're putting out into the world. So that's one thing. But on the other side, I would say I have actually struggled with finding the right bookkeepers, accountants, finding the right people to help with social media. Because I am also in an industry that there wouldn't be a lot of destination management companies or event management companies in Atlantic Canada that would hire an accounting firm or that would need somebody doing social media full time. So there's an education process that goes with that. And it's been a little bit painful because it takes a long time to get people on board and have them understand what you're doing, and then for it to not work out. So for me, the struggling is in, and I know, we've all kind of talked about this a little bit, it's the letting go. And so what I've decided, because if I don't let go a little bit and stop worrying about things being perfect, I'm never going to grow. So we just started with somebody new who's doing social media for us. The first post just went out yesterday, and I have to let go of it being perfect in order to make some progress. It's not to say I don't want a bunch of mistakes, especially in social media out there, but it doesn't have to be written perfectly. It doesn't have to be the perfect picture. You need to allow somebody time to learn and grow into that role, because otherwise we are never going to move forward, right? So for me, it's been a combination. Some parts of the business, it's been really easy to build the team, and other parts have been difficult. So I don't know if any of you have experienced that same thing.
So not exactly, but I just on your point of, bookkeeping, the accountant, the thing like that, leverage the people that you know who are at this kind of either similar level or just a little bit higher than you. Or shoot for the stars. I mean, whatever. But maybe, if for my business, for example, I'm a relatively small business. It is just myself. I want to find somebody who is versed in just dealing with really small business things. I've had accountants and bookkeepers come to me with language and things, and I'm like, you guys, I don't even do that. Like, don't talk to me about the stuff I don't understand. But when I leverage the people that I know who are in similar just a similar space as mine as well in the counseling industry, right? Like I'm not business tourism, I'm a counselor. So you go to the people who, are doing something similar to you and you say, do you have a group around you? Who do you know who's really good at this? Because then maybe they will say, hey, you know what? When I started out, I had Jane. She did my bookkeeping. Then I got a little bit bigger and I had to grow out of Jane. Maybe Jane didn't grow with, and that's an okay thing. And then I had to level up, and then you start leveraging people in a different space. So just look around and ask people. I have to say, it's the same as the ladies are saying. No, I don't find people gatekeep information around here. I don't know if it's anywhere else. Maybe, like you said, maybe it's the way you present yourself and the relationships that you have. But I've gone to people so vulnerable and been like, I have no idea what that means or what I'm doing. People are like, come, let me show you. People love to talk about what they're good at. People love to help and do, we can say it in two different ways, I think. People love to help and people love to talk about what they're really good at, okay? So like find the people who like to talk about what they're really good at and leverage all of that information. And then you'll help yourself build that team, I think.
Well, I found our account on Reddit, so in part, I did leverage people that I knew would know someone, and then that's how we found our bookkeeper. And it wasn't until I found my accountant, I was just spiraling because accountants come in so many different shapes and sizes. Yeah. I had gone to like a big accounting firm downtown. And I was like, oh, this is a big accounting firm. They must do accounting. And then wasn't finding it was a good fit, or they weren't answering my questions in the way that I really understood or made sense for my business. And then I found somebody and had a lot of references. Then I just went to LinkedIn really. And there was enough checks, I guess, from all my digging. And then when I brought her on board and she turned around and said, don't ever lose that bookkeeper, I was like, oh, yes, good. Right. So, and now I get to turn around, and there have been people who have asked me, and now I get to be the person that's like, oh, this is who I use, which is so rewarding to be able to help other people. And then as far as my like in-house team, I was just super upfront with people. It was the most terrifying part of starting my business was building the team because I didn't want to do it wrong. But kind of similar to you, I don't think I've had a bad experience with hiring people yet. There's lots of great people out there. I was just super upfront with, I've never done this before. I've never built a team before. I'm looking for people to build a team with me and kind of build this company together, which I just found being upfront and honest about being new to it and not having all the answers. I think people found that refreshing, and they were like, okay, I'm not stepping into this like box. I can actually contribute. And I think that allowed people to join the team with ideas, and I found it a lot. I didn't feel like I was alone in this journey of starting a business. I had a really great team around me.
I was just going to say, on the topic of bookkeepers, it's always a tough one when you have someone doing your books, and you as an owner, you don't really know if they're doing it right, because like you don't know that part of the business. But so I have a brother, luckily, who was an accountant. So I just lean on him and I get him to look at stuff, and he'll tell me if the bookkeeper's doing things properly or if something should be changed. And so that's just someone in my life that I can lean on. And you probably have those people in your lives too.
If I could just one more, I just want to pull this together that I hope you guys hear that every single one of us, we're kind of like leverage the people you know. I think a lot of the time we talk about business and we talk about this, it's like you have to find that person and you have to go, but like use the community, build the community, I think is what I'm trying to say. Not even use it. Like you might not even have a community yet, but the idea is to build that community of people around you. Today, now I have, well, I've known Christine for years, but now I have two new community members in just today because we started having conversations and we're being vulnerable and open about, I don't know this and I don't know that and what did you do? But we didn't know each other before today. So those relationships that you have are going to be critical to your business growing. You cannot be an island and just say, I'm going to hire all the best people and I'm going to succeed. That community, the way that you have your interpersonal relationships are going to be really paramount.
So I have a question for you. You said like you started your business online and then eventually you grow. So we do have a business as well called Brad Age Media. We have the website and the Instagram. And so I just wanted to get some tips from you. We want to start online also as well and then grow without like investing any money for people to help us. So I just wanted to some tips on how we can do to kind of like get our business growing online. Thank you.
So I did start my business online and everything was just, it was social media driven and it was Facebook and it was everything. I'm not going to give you the answer you want because here's my answer. I cold called the crap out of people and I built things online and I looked up people who, could help me and do, give me ideas of how I was going to put my business out there online and how to, leverage what social media could actually do for you. And I did it all backwards. Like I did it all backwards. So I would say if you are building online right away, marketing is going to be the biggest thing. Building your brand is going to be massive. You want your brand to be something trustworthy and something that people don't have to question. A lot of the time people are like, well, why don't you have a logo? Like I'm my own brand. Like I am Serena Haines and that's my business name and that's who I am and my face is my logo. And like that's what I wanted. So just make sure that whatever you're putting out online, you feel really strongly about and that it's um, something that when you show up as that brand, people will be able to recognize that it's you as well. Does that help? I feel like it's a little convoluted of an answer for you.
I was just going to add too that I find someone told me one time, and I always think about this, that you have to ask for the business. You have to talk to people. Like cold calling, picking up the phone, and you have to ask. You have to be blunt. You can't dance around the issue. I want you to bring a case of donuts to your office every Friday. Can you do that? And that's what you have to do. And sometimes it's hard.
I think that will be it. Before we go, let's give a huge round of applause to the speakers.